Welcome to Catholic Publishing 101, a podcast of the Association of Catholic Publishers, better known as the ACP. Our goal is to give Catholic authors and editors insights into the challenges and obstacles in publishing Catholic content. I'm your host, Therese Brown, the Executive Director of the ACP, and today we have a special guest joining us to give us her 5 best tips for marketing your book. So please welcome Keri-Rae Barnum, owner and CEO of New Shelves Books, which helps take authors from published to profitable by creating marketing programs that get your book sold online, in libraries, and in stores. Today, Keri is going to share some of her secrets for successfully marketing your book. Keri, it's great to have you on the show. I love that summary statement of what you do. It's beautiful. Exactly what you expect of a marketer in terms of summing up what their business is. So it's a great little piece of advertising there.
Well, thank you. It's so great to be here, and I'm excited to just jump in and talk about marketing.
Cool. Then let's dive in. So let's start. Can you share a bit about your background and how you came to work in book marketing?
Absolutely. I actually grew up with two parents who own their own businesses. So, from a teenager, I was learning the ropes of marketing because when you're a small business, you do everything in house. And so, I had a lot of experience as a kid. And as I got older, I started using that marketing experience in my work life outside of, my parents' small businesses. And I worked in real estate. I've done marketing in different areas for years. And then I had kids and I stayed home for a couple of years. And I was at the point where I wanted to get back into the workforce. And I happened to stumble across a possible uh, opportunity to work in publishing. Now, I didn't have a lot of experience in publishing, but I love to read. It's a passion of mine. And it was a marketing job in publishing. So I said, hey, why not? Why not me? And I interviewed for the job. I got the job, and I had an amazing mentor, Amy Collins, who just allowed me the opportunities of pairing my marketing skills with her publishing expertise. She gave me doors to open. She gave me opportunities to really dive into the publishing world. And I took every single one I could get my hands on. And so now, years later, I am able to really use my marketing expertise with that passion of books and publishing. And it's been a really great thing because what's that saying that when you do something you love, you never work a day in your life? And I've really been
Mhm.
able to do that, which I am so grateful for.
That's wonderful. As you're telling your story, the one thing that struck me is that marketing is a set of skills that you can learn. They're not something that you have to have an already passion about or that's something innate or you have to have a talent for, but that's something you can learn. And it just takes some time and some dedication to doing that.
Absolutely. And I mean, not only is marketing something you can learn, but you don't have to love it. You just have to learn to do it. Sometimes it's like going to the gym. I don't want to get up and go running every day, but I know it's good for me. So this is what we do. And I think that's one of the things authors have to come to terms with is sometimes you do it because you have to, not because you want to.
I like that. That's great. That's a great analogy. And for authors who may not think that they can do it, it is a hopeful little point. Yes, you can learn how to do even just the most basic marketing to get your book out there. So, you've brought 5 of your best tips for those just starting out in marketing. Tip 1 is build your author platform. Great phrase, but what is an author platform?
Absolutely. So it's simply your name as an author. So, when we become humans, we get a social security card, we get a driver's license, we create who we are. And this is doing that for yourself as an author. That may mean building a website, joining social media under your author name, but it's the idea of creating your identity as an author publicly. You've been writing probably, in the quiet of your own office for a long time. And now it's time to publicly declare this is who I am. I'm an author, and to claim your spot online, social media, website, things like that.
It's funny because in this age of like Instagram and stuff, there really are a lot of options. You can do it, like you said, just words on a web page, or if you like video, you can video yourself. Yeah,
Mhm.
I like that idea about declaring yourself publicly. Great phrase. So, why is it essential for authors to establish this kind of platform or brand?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. Now, number one is just to build community. You are, presumably going to be publishing a book that you hope people will buy. Well, you know what? We like to support people. So when there's a face behind the name in the book, we are more likely to support you. And so by doing that, you can create community. And community is so powerful in marketing and sales because it gives an opportunity for people to support and connect with you. And the other reason why it's so important is you have to be searchable. In this day and age of online, if I can't Google your name and you show up, or if I can't go on Amazon and you show up, then you don't exist in my world. And so creating that platform is important because if you want to pitch yourself for a bookstore event, well, can I Google you? Can I find your book? If not, maybe not so much. So it's really important to get yourself out there and visible.
That's a great point. How important and essential that ability to search and find and discover. Talk about discoverability in marketing and discover who you are is to an author. So, what are the first steps authors should take to create that professional author platform?
Mhm. I am a big fan of saying stake your claim. You do not have to be on every social media channel, but you know what you should do? You should go create an account and claim your name. Your name has power. And what you don't want to do is decide today, I don't want to do Instagram. And then tomorrow, next week, next month, you decide, I really need Instagram. But you cannot claim your name because part of
Mm.
creating an author platform is as much as possible making it cohesive and easy for people to find you everywhere online. So I really encourage authors to go and claim their profiles everywhere. Claim it on, of course, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even if you have no intention of using these places. I
Mhm.
encourage you to go create an account with your author name. Now, if you've got a more common name, like let's say your name is Joe Smith, chances are you are not getting Joe Smith on Instagram. That's okay. Can you be Joe Smith author? Can you be Joe Smith books or Joe Smith sci fi author? Get creative, and then whatever you create, brand it everywhere. You want your name, your face, your bio essentially to be the same on every platform so that no matter where people find you, they know it's you. So, staking your claim is the first step to really creating that author platform.
That makes sense. So it sounds like my next question was going to be about what items or places would you put in this category? Sounds like you've hit on a couple: websites, social media. Are there others that we should also be looking at if I'm an author?
Absolutely. If you are a published author, be sure to claim your author profiles. Amazon offers a free author profile called Author Central. You should be claiming that. It's a free webpage. And by the way, Amazon is the second largest search engine on the world. The entire world, the second largest. And you can claim a whole page on their website for yourself for free. You should be claiming your Author Central profile. It's free. Places like Goodreads, BookBub. So, pretty much anywhere you as an author find your book and can claim a author profile, you should be doing that as soon as you're able.
As a big Kindle reader, I will attest to the power of Goodreads and BookBub, and those author profiles. Yep, great, great community in some senses, but lots of information about authors and just fabulous. So let's move on to tip number two. Tip two is social media isn't scary. Really?
Well, it doesn't have to be. It can be if you let it. But the thing about social media is most of the time people are scared of it because it feels overwhelming. There are so
Mm.
many options. Twitter, Blue Sky, I don't it's not Twitter anymore, X, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram. And so what I find with most authors is that they're hesitant because it feels too big. So I
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
tell authors you don't have to be active on every social media platform. What you do need to do is you need to have an idea of who your reader demographic is. Do your research. Where are they hanging out? For example, if you have a nonfiction book, LinkedIn might be great for you. Somewhere like
Mhm.
X or Threads can be really great for nonfiction. If you are a cozy mystery author, get yourself over to Facebook. So, finding out where your reader is and pick one or two places that you can learn and be active on, because then it takes it from this overwhelming, I have to do everything, to let me learn this. And I always say consistency over perfection. And what we're seeing more and more online is that no one expects you to be perfect and polished all the time. What they do want is consistency, and they also really want to feel like you are genuine. That matters more
Mm.
than
Mhm.
anything else. Again, remember, part of your platform is creating community. And you can't do that with someone who feels like they're putting on a facade. We want to know who you really are.
Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. And I was thinking of my marketing part of my brain is if you're on more than a couple of social media things and that's where you want to be, there are tools out there that make it easier for you to do that. I'm thinking like the Hootsuites
Mhm.
and Loomly and all those. So there, and that's kind of more of an advanced thing, but that's where you're going to be. Don't feel like you have to go to each one every day individually. There's some ones that can help you kind of do one thing and spread it out to multiple places. I'm
Absolutely.
just learning that myself.
Yes, there are absolutely tools that can help you down the road. But if you're just getting started, start with one. See how it
Yeah,
does, see if you like it, and go from there.
that makes a lot of sense. So, what advice do you have for authors who do feel overwhelmed or unsure about which platforms to focus on? And I'm thinking especially about around those that have issues like Twitter or X. Blue Sky's been mentioned a lot more recently. We're seeing a lot of changes in potential constraints in social media. Um, what's your advice?
My advice is, again, find out who your reader is. You should be really looking into, who do I think my reader is? Where are they hanging out online? Some Google searches can help you with this. I think my reader is X. Where are they online? And once you find that out, go there. I will also say that while I will claim a profile on everything, I do not typically put time and energy into a new platform. We've seen a lot of times where something new starts and then it stops and it starts and there's controversy and it goes away. So, sticking with the tried and true, if you're beginner. Now, if you are a social media pro, you love it, that's different. But when you're getting started, tried and true, and know where your audience is. Because if you're marketing on LinkedIn, but you really have a cozy mystery, you're on the wrong spot. You are screaming into the void for no reason. So
Hmm.
that's really the key, is knowing where to go, and try it. If it doesn't work, pivot. It's better to have done something and have something to kind of analyze and look back on than to be paralyzed with fear and do nothing. To
Yeah,
paraphrase
yeah.
from Nike, just do it.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm thinking too, Carrie, is there's been a lot of research over the years as social media has been with us for now a long enough period of time that will tell you things like what's the best day, what's the best time of day, what kind of messages tone is preferred for which of the social media services. So you can, if you do want to do a little bit of research, you can do a little bit more beyond that and get a better feel for like, yeah, I really don't want to be posting at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's not real effective.
Correct.
But 10 o'clock in the morning, is a good 10 o'clock in the morning on Thursdays might be a really good time for that particular one, which for some people might help them kind of structure their lives a little bit more. I'm a structure person, so I think
Yeah,
about that kind of stuff.
absolutely. I mean, I think that plays into it as well, but again, you just start, and I think that's the biggest
Yeah.
thing, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be. And so until you start, then you're doing nothing. So
Yeah.
don't be
Yeah.
afraid. Don't let that fear paralyze you. And that's the biggest
That
mistake
makes a
I
lot of
think
sense.
authors make on social media.
Yeah, yeah. Well, don't you think sometimes too is that a lot of the social media posts and entries we see tend to look I think I read some things and I tend to look at them and think, "Oh, they sound so polished. It sounds like that person knows what they're doing." And that can be a little intimidating to me when I go to have to write something on that same social media vehicle
Mhm.
and feel like, "Oh, I'm not sure I know how to do that. I'm not sure I'm getting the voicing right." And just kind of like, as you said, just be yourself. Speak from your own voice. Be authentic. Be genuine. That's really more important.
Absolutely. And actually, some newer studies have shown that sometimes we expect people to be polished because it garners trust. And sometimes
Ah,
that actually feels fake. And so we
yeah.
prefer when people are a little rough around the edges. They say something they didn't mean to and laugh at themselves. So authenticity, unless you are speaking as a professional, again, maybe a nonfiction author on a certain topic, there is a lot of wiggle room for mistakes. Mistakes happen. It's what you do with them. And I also promise you that no one's looking at as hard at you and your content as you are. To the
Good
average
point.
person, I guess what? When you mess up, they don't care. They're not paying attention. And that sounds
Hmm.
terrible because I'm telling you to go put yourself out there. But that's what it is that no one is judging you as much as you're judging yourself.
That makes a ton of sense. Make ton of sense. Okay, so let's move on to tip three. I really like this one. So tip three is utilize your contacts. That should be self-evident, but let's dig a little into it. Why is it important for authors to tap into their personal and professional networks?
The reason for, of course, utilizing your contacts is that these people support you. They may know you, you have an in. But as much as utilizing your contacts is important, it's also important to know how to utilize them and when to back off.
Mm,
It is important to realize that if you are writing, a, let's say, if you're writing a nonfiction book, maybe your friend, your sister, does not like nonfiction and they're not excited to read it. They are excited for you and they want to support you, but they are not very interested in the topic of your book. So I think one of the things that we need to do is to utilize our contacts in a way that's easy for them to say yes. So if you say, "Hey, here's my book. I'd love if you would buy it. I'm looking for reviewers," and you're not really getting a response, make it an easier yes. "I'm so excited about my book launch. I'm posting online and I could really use someone to just go like and comment on my post." "Great, I'm your girl. You want me to read a nonfiction book for funsies? Probably not." So I think that sometimes it's all about how easy we make the yes and utilizing those contacts. But also, you never know how much someone will be willing to help you unless you
mhm,
ask. If we don't ask, we don't receive. And so,
mm.
creating opportunities for people to support you, not pushing them into a corner, but creating opportunities is a fantastic way to jumpstart your marketing without having to go too far from home.
That makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned a really easy, non-threatening way, easy yes way, like just like something, a post. That makes a lot of sense. So, what are some other creative ways that authors can use that network to generate reviews, interviews, visibility? Besides, liking a Facebook post or commenting, "Go girl" on a LinkedIn post, kind of thing.
Sure, there are a couple ways we can put out asks. We can ask people if they're willing to be our advanced reviewers or readers. We can ask people, "Hey, I know your brother works at the local news station. Do you think I would be able to pitch them an interview?" um,
Mm,
being able to say, "I know you're not very into this, but if I create a graphic, would you just share it on social media so I reach the people that you know? Because I know that you have a lot of people in your network who might be
hmm
interested." Again, those easy asks are really what it is, but also make your ask more personal by knowing what that contact may have and be willing to offer. So if you know someone, for example, is an author and you go, "Hey, would you be willing to write a blurb for my book for marketing?" That makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're
Yep.
asking someone who's not in that space, Maybe not. So I think again, it's giving people the opportunity, but also an out. And look at what they do professionally, look at their contacts, and then utilize them accordingly in, of course, a healthy way.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to tip four. And you call this if you can't build it, borrow it. I like this one. So explain what it means to quote unquote borrow someone else's platform.
This is one of my favorite marketing hacks is borrowing someone else's audience. If you are a new author and you're going, I'm not going to be able to build an audience of thousands of people to sell my book. Okay. Can you borrow someone else's platform instead of creating your own podcast and hoping hundreds of people listen to it? Can you go find a podcast that fits with your topic or your reader or your genre and pitch yourself for an interview? And when you go interview, you
Mhm.
are putting yourself out there and borrowing the podcaster's audience.
That that's a great example, which leads to the next question. What types of platforms should authors look to collaborate with, and how can they pitch themselves effectively? That putting yourself out there can be challenging for a lot of people.
It can be challenging. And I do encourage you to think about what you're comfortable with. If you're a public speaker or you just love speaking in public or communicating with people, podcasts are a great opportunity. Pitching yourself as a speaker at schools or different community groups. If you're not, do you love writing? Could you write an article for a magazine that focuses on your audience? If you've written a parenting book, can you write articles, guest articles for parenting magazines that lean into the theme of your book? So then you get your byline that talks about your book. Um,
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all the different ways of finding your strengths. Sometimes we do have to put ourselves out there a little bit, but lean into your strengths. And sometimes can you simply find a platform that already has a large audience base similar to what your audience should be? If you can't get a podcast, if you can't write an article with them for whatever reason, they've said, no, you don't have the time. Can you advertise on their platform?
Mhm.
Because sometimes simply saying, I'm not going to build this raving audience in the 2 months before my book comes out, but I can go to Amazon and I can run ads on their platform. I can go to this magazine or website and buy space in their newsletter. And that
Mhm.
is valuable as well. We don't always have to build things from scratch. It's like baking. Sometimes you want to get out all the ingredients and bake a cake. Sometimes I know we have all done this. We buy some cookies or something, put it on a nice platter, and we're like, look what I brought. And both are valid. They both get a sweet treat to wherever you're going. So sometimes it's all right to borrow other people's platforms.
That's great. I love that. That's fantastic. Okay, so it kind of leads into tip five, which is to think local. Like that. So why should authors focus on their local community when starting their marketing efforts?
Because your local community is more likely to support you. So, if you are going to example for a newspaper and you're asking them to review or interview anything for your book, if you say, I'm a local author who has written about maybe this local topic, then it's more interesting because we tend to focus, especially in smaller news outlets and things, on our local community. If
Mhm.
you are going to a bookstore, well, yes, there is a huge Barnes and Noble in New York City. Well, if you go and pitch them and ask them to hold a book signing, you have better have some crazy sales and credentials behind you. But if you go to your Barnes and Noble down the street and say, "Hey, I've been coming here for years. I have a large community at home who would love to buy my book in stores, but I need an outlet. Could we do an event?" That way, it's a symbiotic relationship.
Mhm.
You're asking for them to host you, and you're also telling them, I want to bring my friends and family into your store. I want to bring
Mhm.
customers into your store. So when you're
Yeah.
starting local, usually you have some type of connections, but you also have hometown support. I will tell you that if you get a feature in a magazine that is based in, I don't know, Minnesota and you live in Virginia, are people going to read it? Maybe. But if
Hmm.
you get a feature in a magazine at home, how many people are going to be cutting that out and going and buying that local magazine? Your
That's a great
community
point.
and your connections tend to be local. And that may be local to you now, local to where you went to college, local to where you grow up, or it might even be if your book is set in a certain place. It might be a
Mm-hmm.
local connection to where the book is placed. But by thinking local, we give ourselves a specific area to reach rather than trying to set our net worldwide. I love that for people. I want you to go worldwide. Start at home.
That makes a lot of sense. So, you mentioned bookstores. You also made me think of for those who are Catholic authors, their parishes who often have book clubs. They have parish bulletins. Your ad idea, a great place to see if member of our parish, active member of our choir, whoever you are. Um, so, besides bookstores and then parishes, what are some effective ways authors can engage with other local places like libraries or other local organizations?
Yes, libraries. Libraries will often have book clubs, or if you have
Mhm.
something you can teach. If you are a nonfiction author, can you teach something? Have you written a cookbook? Can you come and do like a meal planning segment at your local libraries? They love that. Local schools, Sunday schools,
Mhm.
um, Rotary clubs can be a fantastic one. Look at your local community groups. There are more than you ever imagined, I promise you. And think of all the ways that you might be able to connect into them. Could
Yeah.
you, even if it's not like, well, my book's not about that, okay, but could you find an angle where it applies somehow? Is there a way that, for example, when my kids were in preschool, there was this man, and we called him the bread man. Now, he made bread, he was a baker, but he took that and turned it into a session with kids about how kindness grows things. And when we don't take care of things, they don't grow. And he used that to teach to schools. But he's a baker, he's teaching about kindness. And so there's always a way if you think about it. So sometimes you have to be creative, but thinking about your local community and how you can help and serve while also sharing your book is the best of both worlds.
That makes a ton of sense. What a great way of kind of rethinking about your own content and what you've written.
Yeah.
So, how can authors turn that local success into momentum for broader marketing efforts?
Mhm. That local success becomes your social credibility. So if I'm pitching my local store and they say, yeah, absolutely, come out, let's have a signing. Well, then I can take that and go to a bigger store and say, I recently did a signing at
Mhm.
this store. It was a huge success. Would you be willing to have one here? So we leverage up our opportunities. The same things for podcasts, media, anything like that. I went on my local news and we had a great time. Here's the segment in the clip. Would you be willing to have me on your show? Because now we have social credibility and we have something tangible for people to watch. They've seen you in action. You can wow them. So we can leverage up some of these small, I always say, I don't like to say there's small opportunities. I
Mhm.
like to say there's opportunities to create content and to practice and become. And then we can use those for more opportunities. But that
Mhm.
social credibility piece is huge in marketing. We start on a stair stepper. We really have to start local and at home. And sometimes it feels small. Maybe it's a kindergarten class, but then we leverage that up and we leverage to the library with adults. And then we leverage to, local media. And then we go big media. And they're all fantastic opportunities where you can reach people and you can serve while you're also sharing your work.
That makes a ton of sense. You made me think of such a simple example of that. That like to the kindergarten, you may have a children's book that you share with children in the kindergarten, but it may also be good to meet with the parents, the PTA, and go through your book and how this book can help you teach your children thus and such. It just takes a little bit of creative thinking, kind of switching your angle of how you look on things. Um, Great ideas, Keri. Just really super ideas. Any last thoughts before we go?
I think my encouragement for every author is that if you don't do anything, you can't mess up. But if you don't do anything, you're also not doing anything. You're not selling your
Mm-hmm.
book. Don't be afraid of failure. I don't really think there is failure. I think that we learn something and then we pivot and we do something new. Get yourself out there, try it. If it doesn't work out, try something else new. If something doesn't go as planned, it's not the end of the world. Did we learn something from it? Can we grow and can we do something else? And that is my biggest takeaway in marketing is that sometimes there's science behind it with a little bit of, well, why not? Let's give it a try. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if you don't try, you're never out there. And something I say often is a book that's not seen is a book that can't be bought. So if you're not helping your book
Yep.
be seen, no one can buy it. So
Yep.
put yourself out there.
I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say that I intended to put this post out there, I intended to put this book out there, and I knew it was going to go viral. Almost every time you hear about something going viral, it's happens. You just happen to get it in the right place. You keep knocking on the doors. You keep putting things out there, and people start paying attention for a reason. Some reason. Sometimes you don't know what it is. So
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. If you don't,
I
if you
mean,
don't put it
if
out
you don't
there,
try, it can't work. And I'll also say I've
yeah,
worked with some very successful authors. I have numerous USA Today best-selling authors. One of my clients is a number one New York Times best-selling author. And I will tell you what is that even though they've sometimes been called overnight success, those overnight successes were years in the
mm-hmm,
making. And it took
yeah,
putting themselves out there and sometimes falling and things not working to get where they were. So you've got to put yourself out there.
yeah. Great advice. So let's kind of pull this all together. You've been a great resource today. Thank you so much for sharing all your expertise and wisdom and really concrete, practical ideas, because that's where the rubber hits the road for a lot of new authors when it comes to the marketing part. So, in case people would like to follow up and connect with you a little bit more, how can they connect with you?
Absolutely. I am New Shelves Books everywhere on social media, wherever you're out. Just search for New Shelves Books. So you can find me there. You can also find me at newshelves.com. That's my website. And actually, I created something for your listeners. I hope that's okay. Whereas if you
That's
go to
fine.
newshelves.com/marketing checklist. I have an author platform and a book marketing checklist that you can download for free, just as a follow up to some of the things we talked about. So that's newshelves.com/marketing checklist.
Thank you for doing that. That is a huge help to so many relatively new authors who are either intimidated, scared, unsure, just never done it before, the marketing part. So, oh, that's great. Thank you, Keri, for sharing everything with us today. It's just been great. Before we close, though, a couple of thoughts here. If you are an author, I invite you to join the Association of Catholic Publishers as a content creator member to network with other Catholic publishing professionals. Go to CatholicPublishers.org and click on members, then join now. We are here to help guide you in your journey in Catholic publishing. So, watch more episodes in this series or explore other series here at CatholicPublishers.org and on YouTube. And if you enjoyed this episode, which we hope you did, please consider subscribing to Catholic Publishing 101 and leaving us a comment. We'd love to hear your feedback and suggestions for future episodes. So feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and YouTube, or at our website at CatholicPublishers.org. Thank you again to our listeners and viewers for tuning in to today's episode. Keri, you've been a great guest. Keri hails from New Shelves Books, and we thank her for sharing her insights and expertise with us today. Until next time, keep spreading the gospel in everything you say and do and write.